Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right. Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willies, your host. Thank you so kindly for being part of the show. We're going to have a great show for you today. Welcome aboard, everybody that's in the house today. First in line, El Señor Michael Rudnin, AVQ from Brooklyn, New York, second in the house. El Señor Patrick Magner from Houston, Texas. We also have Joe from Los Angeles, California. And we have Yvette Avery Hera, beautiful lady from Atlanta, Georgia, E2247 from all over. We also have in the house with us Eric Hayes from Kingwood, Atascocita. We have Paul Flemings from Powder Springs, Georgia. We have Lee the Bearcat from Austin, Texas. We also have Paul. Well, I think we did Paul already. Man, you guys have a lot of messages in there already. And I see a whole bunch in Substack. I can't get to all of that. It's a whole bunch, but I see Lynette, Mary Cat, D.H. Kirby, Sue Sharko, Alistair Waters, H. Mellon Poole, Dolores Guyton, Paul Glenn, Ayaz Malik, Amber J, Carolyn Boo, Sabrina Joy, Janice Diamzo, Dory Lufkin, Carol Pettijohn, Beth Mars, and more, and more are coming. All right, folks. And I started it late, so I didn't get everybody that's in, so forgive me for that. All right, starting out, we have Michael Rudnin says, common dreams, they are laughing at us all. Trump tariff whiplash boosts wealth of mega rich by $304 billion. This sort of insider trading is a crime of scale I've never seen before, and they're doing it brazenly all out in the open as they transferring the value of people's retirement funds directly into the robber baron's pocket. I told you guys that 2 days ago. I told you that's what it's all about. This isn't conjecture. In fact, one of the stories I have here, let me put it on the screen here. In fact, one of the stories that I have on the screen is a video of Trump bragging. I repeat, video of Trump bragging about making his friends all the money. You want to see that? Check this out. And then we'll see that we're not just talking this stuff. Check it out.
This is Charles Schwab. It's not just a company, it's actually an individual. And he made $2.5 billion today, and he made $900 million. That's not bad, because he's in financials. I've always been following.
Now, that's what it's all about. So all you MAGA folks that are there supporting these guys, remember, you guys are just the tools. You guys are just the cog. You guys are just what they need to make money on you. So as your 401k dips, they make their monies on the re-rise. And if you notice, we get the seesaw. Today, it's up by 1.56%. They're going to ride that wave up and it'll tank again because there's nothing holding up the economy given that it's based on a fraud. And they're playing with you and they will continue to play you as suckers. That's what they're into this for. All right. Michael says, Fortune Magazine, AOC and Elizabeth Warren demand answers on insider trading and market manipulation allegations after Trump's tariff U-turn sparked stock surge. Exactly right. You guys can continue reading that on your own. Let's see what Michael wants on the screen. Let's see if I can put that on the screen. I just played. Hey, good minds think alike, Michael Rudnin. That's why you're my little brother. Good minds think alike. Good minds think alike. Okay, I played that earlier. All right, T2247 says today, 11 April 2025, only oppose forced registration of aspiring Americans. Department of Homeland Security has introduced a rule to force persons who don't yet but aspire to have citizenship to register with federal government or else face fines, imprisonment, or both. autocracy. That's what it's all about. Submit a unique public comment on the Federal Register today, April 11th, and the brother has the link inside of that thing. All right, let's see what else we have here. Lee the Bearcat says, Happy Friday. Happy Friday, Lee the Bearcat. Let's see. The myth of redemptive violence is the spawn of Babylonian myth. One of these, probably need to read before that, but I don't have it. Let's see. Let me continue here. Let's see. I'm scrolling down. J. Ray is in the house. He says, I roar. So roar, my brother, roar. Patrick says, I signed the Immigration Law Center petition. Thank you, E2247. Thank you, Patrick. And Patrick, I got that stuff about Bill Gates from you, and I read 2 of the documents. Remember when I talk about the benevolent billionaire and how as benevolent as they think they are because they think they're in the right, they're still, all of them, every billionaire is a parasite because that was made on the backs of all of us. So even though, I like Buffett, I like Gates, but again, they played by the rules, but they're a parasite nonetheless. Okay, let's continue. Let's see. E224, Michael Ryan says, E2, I shared your petition link to Blue Sky. Thank you. Then I can sign it from Blue Sky after the show. That's me saying that. Lee Grant is in the house from where again? From Montgomery County. All right. Stephanie Rule had a piece that I want you guys to listen to. Well, you know what? Before I do the Stephanie Rule piece, I want to do a piece that I did with a caller this morning. Was it this morning? Or I think it was this morning. No, it was yesterday morning. Because what I wanted to let folks know is before you start talking about how bad other countries are, we all have our good spots or bad spots. I'm an American in spite of what our country has done to many people. But one of the things as a U.S. citizen, we know we can, and many of us have been atoning for what we've done. But when you are in an international market or international realm, to go back there and believe that all things Americans are good and all things Chinese are bad, or all things American are good and all things Cuban are bad, all things Americans are good, and you really have to start looking in the mirror. Because even as we talk to other countries about human rights, we are one of the worst when it comes to human rights, both from our inception, slavery, genocide on the Indians, annihilation of many of the Chinese here in the country. That's us. That's our history. That's what we did. And we shouldn't forget things like Abu Ghraib and what we did to folks in Guantanamo, etc. So we can be just as forget about human rights as anybody else. Don't be fooled. So we ought to be careful when we're pointing the fingers. And that's why I had to set this young man straight this morning. I want you to hear that. Go ahead, Brian.
The tariffs, it looks like MSNBC and CNN are all in to win for China. Okay, no matter what happens, it's going to take a couple of years for this to bring fruit. China wants world domination. You're going to find out exactly how rotten China is. On the bond issue, the caller said something about bonds, how Trump has ruined bonds. That's been going on for years. China holds about $7 trillion of our U.S. bonds. Now, what's going to happen when they cash it in? That's China, okay? It's good. The next time the caller calls in and wants to say something positive about Trump, I'll yield my time back if you let him answer, which he did, but you cut him off.
First of all, let me just tell you, I think you should listen to our tapes. I let everybody speak, and I made him speak quite a bit, including I allowed him to give a little bit of misinformation that needed correction. But I want to hit you up on something. Look, the only thing we can know about a country being bad, and look, I'm not here to defend China at all because I would never do so. But the only thing that we can talk about when it comes to China, right, is the following. All right. If we look at and folks, I just want to show Mr. Brian here that you better be careful of how you judge good and bad. The only country that ever used the atomic bomb was whom? United States. The only country that bombed Panama and killed 10,000 people, the United States. The only country that funded the bombing and destruction and genocide of an entire area, Gaza, the United States. The only country that has bombed Santo Domingo, places in the Dominican Republic, the United States. The only country that has released and enjoys coups in places like Venezuela and other places, the United States. The only country that has starved people, starved them with boycotts, etc., in Cuba, in other places, the United States. China goes around the world. I don't know what their intentions are, but they go around the world and they build freeways and they invest in ports and they invest in farming and they invest in helping these other folks. No bombs have been dropped by China on any country. No bomb. I mean, this is what the rest. I'm telling you what. I'm not done. Brian, hold on. Brian, I am not done. Listen, I made you speak. I can name you throughout the world where bombing is occurring. I can show you America bombing throughout the world. And I ask you, for all the bombings that you see the United States done around the world, let me know the bombings that have occurred in Africa by China. Let me know the bombings that have occurred in South America by China. Let me know the bombings that have occurred in Central America by China. Again, whenever you're talking about good, I'm not done. Whenever you're talking about good and evil, this is not, I am not talking about preferences or what people's intentions are. I am just telling you what is and what was. So be careful when you start defining what is evil. You can speak now.
Okay, how about the Uyghurs? You heard of them, the Muslims? How about the Hmong
Of course,
people?
I've heard about the Uyghurs. Again,
Okay,
I've named you countries around the world. I'm not talking about intra-jurisdictional. I've named you countries around the world. Name the countries that China has actually gone in and bombed.
How about us in
all right,
Korea?
You know, that was a bad question because I knew the answer, and you cannot come up with an answer for that, sir, because it's not possible. No, you did not. I mean, Korea was a war. Korea was a war. But we're not going to go any further because, again, what I said was a statement of fact. Thank you, sir. I got to go to Lester, but I proved that you're simply wrong, my brother. Thank you so kindly for calling. I'll talk to you tomorrow. The idea here is that you have to realize how the right wing likes to talk, right? They like to put things out there, no examples, and they try to keep you off kilter. What you have got to do is you must be on top of the game. Every now and then when I falter, I have my posse in the chat, or my posse that comes back on the next call and say, well, you should have said that. Well, you should have said the other. But the idea is these guys have been populated with misinformation, disinformation, because they are willfully willing to hear crap. You can't help that they're willfully willing to hear that. But what you can do is make sure that they never, ever, ever get the upper hand to convince others of the fallacies they talk about. All right, let's see what else we got here. Paul Fleming says, during a White House briefing on Friday, White House Secretary Carolyn Leavitt addressed concerns over the Safeguard American Voter Eligibility Act, also referred to as the SAVE Act. The act requires document proof of U.S. citizenship for those registering to vote, but voting rights groups have argued that the legislation could erect barriers that would make it harder for millions of people to vote, including married women. But that's what they want. That's what they want. But you know what? What can I say? Let's see. Lee Grant says China is on sub-Sahara Africa like white on rice. Okay, and what's wrong with that? You know, here's a funny thing. I think you need to go learn a little bit about Burkina Faso, creating their own electric car companies and starting to say, wait a minute, we are actually rich. You guys couldn't exist without us. So no, we're going to start taking it back as opposed to being nice and allow the legal theft. So I think you got to do a lot more reading, my dear brother Lee Grant. Check it out and learn a little bit about what's happening in the different countries in Africa. I think you'd learn a lot. Somebody sent me a video that should give many pause, because let me see if I can find it. Because look, if we are to succeed as a country, right, we are going to have to start living in the real world, and not the fallacy that not the fallacy that others want you to live in. Okay. And what I'm trying to do right now is I'm trying to find a link that somebody sent me this morning. I think that's it here. Let me see if I find it here. Because, a lot of folks need a wake-up call. I think this is it. Let me see if that's it. I think it is. Let me pull it out here. Yeah, I think that's going to be the link. All right. What I want to do here is, bear with me. Let me get okay. All right. Let's see. All right. Okay. I'm going to get it for you now. But how do I start it over? Okay. I think I can get it. All right, guys. I want you to see this, because this may be a wake-up call for some. So check this out. Let me go ahead and do this. Enable the speaker. Go ahead and do a refresh and see if it comes on.
Buy the things those Chinese peasants manufacture.
Hello, American friends. I don't know how your social...
Wait, let's do it again.
Chinese peasants to buy the things those Chinese peasants manufacture.
Hello, American friends. I don't know how your social media tells about China, but if you still think of China as this, you are completely wrong. Let me show you the real China. Shanghai, Beijing, Guangxi, Nanjing, Chengdu, Shenzhen, Xinjiang.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Shanghai. Step into China's world of advanced trade.
Are y'all seeing this?
And stunning architecture. Join me as we
Holy shit.
Shanghai's vibrant cityscape under the
It's stunning. The people in China are peasants, huh? My goodness. Peasants are living good. What is he talking about? And how does that make us look, right? The richest country in the world is borrowing money from peasants. That sounds so bad. I'm really happy that I downloaded the app Xiaohongshu, aka Red Note, because I have been able to see the Chinese people in a new perspective, in a new light. Okay? They're not peasants at all. Some of the technology that they have over there is far superior than ours. I'm watching bullet trains over there. I'm watching robots delivering food. They got all types of cool shit. And you can go to public college between $700 and $1,400 a year. Not a semester, a year. They have a healthcare system that covers 95% of their population. They don't pay property taxes. What are you talking about? The Chinese people on Xiaohongshu especially, they are sharing their culture with us. We are breaking stereotypes. A lot of the shit that we have with other countries is because of our government and what our government does. Apart from the governments, the Chinese people and the American people have no beef. So JD Vance, several seats. You came from one of the poorest states in America to have the nerve and the damn audacity to talk about an entire country. The only peasant in this situation is you. You're the peasant. You can slap all the eyeliner you want. At the end of the day, when you go to bed, you know where you came from. The nerve.
We borrow
Now, let me just correct you, Mr. What did you tell me? Let me find a message. I just saw a message that I thought was rather laughable. Oh God, you guys put a lot in the just before I looked up, but no, this isn't Chinese propaganda. All right, I've been to China. I've been to Shanghai, Hong Kong, Shanghai, and these. I've been to Xi'an. I've been to the Terracotta. You see, over here, we keep a story about what places like Nairobi or places like Kenya or places like countries like China. It is like, oh, this is what we lie to our own people. And then when they go over there and they see for real, there are bullet trains, humongous infrastructure, dams, and all these things that we would dream of in here. You can also see different things in Tokyo, Japan. We have fallen behind. And the reason we have fallen behind is we have allowed austerity and a right-wing troglodytic party to hold us back. There's a new book out called "We Need to Show the Riches of America." That's not the exact name, but the idea being, guys, we have fallen behind. And the reason why all we do is we give money to the rich, and then they go party in Shanghai. They go party in Xi'an. They go party in Nairobi. They go party in Tokyo, where there is real infrastructure and real stuff out there as we crumble. And when we have a president that finally gets a bill that starts to rebuild our infrastructure and starts to try to do these things, we ridicule it. We have a guy that we have a Donald Trump that wants to bring back companies that build things with screwdrivers. We have a Donald Trump that wants people working in coal mines. We have all the opportunity to excel in mass like these other countries. Now, look, China is a country of 1 billion something people. And most of the people don't live in Shanghai and Xi'an and Beijing, etc. A lot of them live in the countryside and all of that. But for those living in the cities, etc., everything that you heard, the healthcare system, it's real. You know how I know? I have people who got sick in Beijing. I got people who got sick in Tokyo. I have people who got sick in Paris. We are a joke with our healthcare system compared to these people. So no, we don't need Chinese propaganda to get some truths. We don't need it. Because all these countries, from their social standpoint on how they treat the masses, far exceeds what we do. There's a friend of mine that comes on and he talks about stress. I want you to look at your paycheck and see how much of it goes to health insurance, how much of it goes to home insurance, how much of it goes to all of this. And then go to any other country and ask them what they're doing. We have a lot of Americans that have taken the risk. They just went blind and said, I am moving to Mexico. A lot of them are living in Mexico, not in the tourist areas that are more expensive, but just as traditional Mexicans. Okay? Many others have moved to Thailand. I wonder why. And they're living in high rises where their groceries are delivered once a week, $60 for a full-fledged of groceries that they need. You know why? Because they don't have a plutocracy as bad as ours ripping them off. Okay? Think about that. Well, a lot of companies are likely going to be moving from China because of what Donald Trump is trying to do. But China is doing something else. China is actually expanding its market. And let me remind you guys of something. I am not a proponent of China or any other country, but I'm a proponent of intelligence. And if you think about it, we are 4% of the population. And we want to do the things that we are doing to other people? To other countries? 4% of the population. The rest of the world represent 96% of humanity. And we have a Trump that is saying they're trying to kiss my AWS. A little bit of humility is a good thing. A little bit of humility is a good thing. People are losing faith in our country, as Stephanie Rule points out in this next video. I want you to listen to it and listen to it well. Stephanie Rule gave a commentary tonight on her show that is beer repeating on the 11th hour. And this commentary shouldn't really stand alone. But let me start this way. Donald Trump came into office with an economy that was described by The Economist, the Wall Street Journal, and many others as the envy of the world. Donald Trump consistently spoke about, Biden destroyed the economy, all that kind of stuff. It was all a lie. It has always been a lie. Donald Trump handed Biden an economy in crisis. He mismanaged COVID. He exploded the deficit. He gave a tax cut to rich people, further making the income inequality and wealth disparity worse. That's what he did. He got an economy in great shape. And in less than 3 months, he has put the United States economy in turmoil. And it's not a partisan thing. Because if it were a partisan thing, as he threw up these tariffs and the stock market fell, if it was just a partisan thing and something that was 6 of one, half dozen of the other, the bond market would not start falling as well, because people leaving the stock market would be looking for security in money, the bonds. But they're dumping American dollars, they're dumping bonds just as much as they're dumping stocks, which means a complete crisis in confidence in the United States. That's what it means. This has never happened to this extent in our modern history. In other words, we have always been the bastion of economics because our economy just about runs the world. 4% of the people in the world pretty much have the lion's share of economic activity and economic, the people who run the economic system, the nervous system of our world's economy. But all of that, Donald Trump destroyed in under 3 months. And the rest of the world's noticing it. And the thing about it is, how can you recover from that? How can you recover from that, right? We could have once said that it was an aberration that Donald Trump got elected the first time. Okay, we understood. Every country is due a mistake. But a consecutive mistake, again, that is enough to send other countries with long-term plans of eventually leaving as soon as they build their own life support system. But Donald Trump didn't only show that he could destroy an economy all by his lonesome, all by himself quickly. He also showed the defects within the Constitution. He showed the defects of what an electoral college is. He showed the defect of the executive controlling the Justice Department and how then a Justice Department, if the president so chooses, can decide not to enforce the law. It shows the flawed design of the Constitution in the judiciary. It exposed so much. And what it also says is that we must give kudos to every president that preceded Donald Trump, as well as Biden. Because none of these other presidents used the defects of the economic system, an economic system that one person could cause it to crash, and a constitution that is so fragile that a person as inept, someone many refer to as a moron could cause so much damage. I want you to listen to what Stephanie Ruhle had to say here, and then we'll take it on the other side.
Here's what I want to say. It has been over a week since this trade disaster began, and I have spent that week speaking to investors here and abroad. And what I feel most tonight is scared. Scared that what we are facing is a crisis of confidence. Confidence in us, the United States of America. And what I have not heard from any of the people that I speak to is exactly what might restore that confidence in the United States, at least not right now. Yes, the markets rallied yesterday, but that is only because we avoided the 50+% tariffs across the globe. But the reality has set in today because we still have the rest of these tariffs, and the markets continue to sink, both the bond and stock market, in part because the basis by which we're negotiating trade is not rooted in truth. And for those who believe countries are scrambling to make a deal because they were so panicked about the enormous tariffs and now they're much lower, my question is, what is that deal? What do you think the likes of Vietnam can do to erase our trade deficit? You know what the answer is? They can't. And if you want to onshore all of our manufacturing, if you want to do that, what Peter Navarro talked about, what Howard Lutnick talked about, you want to do that? It'll take trillions of dollars and 20 years to reconfigure the global supply chain and bring it all home. And for our allies in the West, those developed countries, they are certainly not rushing to partner back up with us. Not with a U.S. president who goes on national TV laughing, saying they're all kissing my ass. It is safe to say that the perch we and our American exceptionalism sat on, even a few months ago, has certainly been lowered. We've got an agriculture secretary who tells us, build a chicken coop in your backyard because eggs are expensive. We have a defense secretary sharing military secrets in a group chat. We are potentially lawlessly firing thousands of federal workers and defunding science while we buy crypto. We have lost an enormous amount of credibility and trust. But what scares me is that every investor I speak to, even some who support this president, is giving me the same message. If the bond market continues to drop and drop and drop, you know where it goes? It bankrupts the country. Something Donald Trump knows a lot about.
So yes, she has reason to be scared. The rest of the world has reason to be scared. Imagine an economic system that can be tanked by a flawed president, making, just simply saying, I'm going to throw tariffs on and just using his wordiology. And that is enough to tank a world's economy. What a flawed economic system. Something we talk about all along. So for all of those who are going to contact us later on and talk about the virtues of this system, the virtues of this type of capitalism, the virtues of our Constitution, it has never been the virtues of our economic system. It has never been the virtues of our Constitution. It has been that men and women good enough to not exploit its flaws had been elected to office and had, no matter how bad many of us thought they were, never went as far as putting our country and the world in danger. It wasn't these pieces of flawed documents. It wasn't a flawed economic system, capitalism, that saved us. It was simply good people. And once you get someone that's not good, once you get evil into that institution of leadership, all the flaws of the documents and the economic system just pour out. I tell you what, I hope after we rid ourselves of Donald Trump, that we will seriously consider fixing the flaws not only in the Constitution, but the flaws in an economic system where no one person can do what Donald Trump has done. And that is tank an economy from just the force of one person. A world made up of billions of people, and a measly, infantile moron could actually potentially tank the world's economy. Shame on us. And it really is shame on us. Like I said, when it happens the first time, it's understood. When it happens a second time, shame on us. Shame on us. And we know why he was elected, not because people thought he was better, he could do the job, but because enough of us are still a sexist, misogynist, racist, prejudiced country. Enough are still that way to have allowed what we've seen. That is something that we ought to look in the mirror and, to put it bluntly, beg for forgiveness. Before I do the last video on a double talking, if anybody want to call in now, this is the time to do so. 281-823-7747. Again, that number is 281-823-7747. Una vez más lo voy a repetir, 281-823-7747, 281-823-7747, 281-823-7747. Lee Grant, nobody's disputing that Donald Trump got elected democratically, and that is true. And I tell you what, believe it or not, that is even worse, because that means it is his election shows he is the fabric of our country. And that is why the Europeans are running away. Because if he got elected once by accident, people could say, yeah, they made a mistake. But now to the rest of the world, it's no longer a mistake. It's a cancer. All right. Come on. How you doing, my dear brother? Oh, it looked like I got another caller too. Hold on a second.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. Hold on. All right. All right. Ray, what's up, Ray?
So, yeah, man, like, you know, you hit the nails on the head early this morning, and I appreciate you showing that video of China, because truth is quiet is kept. Like you said, China is beating us in pretty much all categories, you know, as far as economic development, education, healthcare, and we sneer at them. Why? You know the reason why. And I'm gonna just say it because I know you don't. Because they're run by the Chinese Communist Party. That's the reason why we villainize them. And truth is kept, quiet is kept. The Chinese Communist Party doesn't actually operate like a communist party. Quiet is kept. It operates more like a blended socialist / capitalist country.
Exactly.
So I appreciate you highlighting that, Egberto, because people really think that it's old guys with Fu Manchus and straw hats and rickshaws out there. And you need to let people know that's not what China is. And
you know,
the more we try to, the more we try to put ourselves above China, the more we keep convincing ourselves our own BS that we're the number one in the world, even though we know that's not true.
Well, it hurts us. It hurts us. And the reason it hurts us is because by us looking down at China and somehow thinking, oh, we are so much ahead and all that BS, we get a false sense of superiority, a false sense of security. I am sorry. We have the bombs. We have the aircraft carriers. We have all of that. And you know what they constantly do? They're building their military. They're building their reservoir. They're building these things. They're creating allies around the world. I repeat, they're not saying the rest of the world are kissing our asses. They are over there making flesh to flesh, making connections. And then we get pissed off when those connections are made. They made deals with Panama to run the ports. Oh, no, America realizes that the Chinese have a port in Panama. And now they want to threaten Panama with invasion because the Chinese have made a deal with the port. I mean, it is amazing. Greenland, oh my God, Greenland have a lot of good materials there. Even though it's owned by Denmark, the colonizing America decide to say, oh, well, we want Greenland. We have to have Greenland for our security. Who the hell are you to say you have to have a piece of land that doesn't belong to you for your security? I mean, that these guys say these things and are not embarrassed from saying it is a shame. But hold on, Ray. I think we have Harry on the other line. Harry, what's up?
Hey, Ray. Hey, Egberto. Absolutely. You guys are absolutely right about all that with China. They take care of their people. They don't have these robber barons here. I didn't get a chance to mention this morning because you had to get on to playing this video that you just played again. And that woman has every right to be scared with the bond market tanking because, look, we have bonds. We use bonds to invest in bullet trains projects, in environment, which Trump has rolled back, and roads and bridges, which Joe Biden did. And with the bonds tank like that, we don't have that money. And so these, that's just, bad for this country. And as Professor Richard Wolff said on Amy Goodman's show last week, I had mentioned this to you before, and I look, he's absolutely right. 36% of BRICS is gross domestic product and 29% of the G7. So what does that tell you? People are losing faith in the United States. And I keep hearing all these things, how people are losing faith in the dollar. And all these people that call your show and always support Donald Trump, the Lesters, the Bryans, the Jeffs, the Bards, all those people, the Lewises, all those people fell for the okie doke, as Obama would say. That's what happened with those people, and they better wake up.
All right, Harry. And that's what we do here, right? We try to remember that folks need some. Let me read something from Lee Beercat. Lee the Beercat says, "Whoa, some sound so unpatriotic and might be part of the bigger issue." No, let me tell you who the unpatriotic people are. The unpatriotic people are the people who allow themselves to be fooled and going to fool us right into indentured servitude, going to fool us into second-class citizenry. So let's be clear here, Lee the Beercat. Not knowing the truth is more dangerous than telling an inconvenient truth. And the inconvenient truth is that we have fallen behind. The inconvenient truth is that our infrastructure is behind. The inconvenient truth is our healthcare system is behind. The inconvenient truth is that our water systems are behind. Learn that. Go do your research about what's happening around the world, and then you'll figure that out on your own. Hey, guys, I got to go play my last video, and I'm running out of time.
You sound like Al Gore. Jr. there when you said they can read your truth. I wanted to mention one more thing. Can I mention one more thing? My friend from Florida.
10 seconds.
I had a conversation with him about, with his 401k. I have not talked to him in 2 weeks because he's angry about the stock market crashing like that. He's worried about his 401k crashing. And, I tried to warn him. He's part of the.
All right. The next time you call, gotta go. The next time you talk to him, just tell him this: courtesy of Donald Trump. Take care, Ray. Ray, last 10 seconds, Ray. Ray, last 10 seconds.
Oh yeah. Basically, you hit everything Harry said, everything you said. Y'all hit the nail on the head, basically. And evil will do what evil does. And if you put it in power, don't expect any less when the leopards eat your face.
Thank you, brother. Have a good one, guys. All right, last video of the day. Here it comes. Joe Scarborough did a number on Congressman Michael Lawler this morning on Morning Joe. And I don't think Lawler realized what was happening. In effect, Joe creating kind of a civil war between blue state Republicans and red state Republicans. And he did it in an ingenious way. And I know a lot of people won't immediately see it. But there's this stuff called assault taxes, state and local taxes, that got sort of limited when Donald Trump gave I think it was when he gave his last tax cuts, and it really screwed blue states, because blue states collect a lot more in taxes from its citizen than red states, and Joe Scarborough went ahead and why should red states subsidize blue states for having high taxes and let you guys pay less income taxes on your money because of the SALT the SALT deduction being reduced. Let me first explain something. Normally, you pay taxes on income that you can actually realize. Now, when a state charges you taxes, that is income not realized by you. So if you make X amount of money and you pay 25% of that in state taxes, that's not income to you. So why should you pay federal income tax on that? Well, as it turns out right now, that points out that the way Donald Trump screwed blue states is that he says, okay, if you decide to have high taxes in your state, we're not going to count that towards your income tax. And therefore, hey, c'est la vie, you can't write it off. But here is the kicker. Joe Scarborough tried to make it look like, no, we don't. The red states shouldn't be subsidizing you blue states who have high taxes. And Lawler started to, go along with him till he kind of got mad because Joe Scarborough, in effect, was calling his state by wanting SALT that somehow these red states are subsidizing. And I finally said, don't you know that we give more? Us blue states give more to the federal government than the red state do. And I spoke to the senator from South Carolina about that because, South Carolina is another bigger state. And then then Joe Scarborough came in about the red states versus blue states and who really are the states that are demanding. And Lawler ended up just saying what everybody needed to know. Yes. Red states, in effect, because of their policies, are bigger states, and they depend on the blue states who have better policies to support it. He didn't quite say it, but that's the end of it. I want you to listen to it, and then we'll take it on the other side.
As a conservative, I'm talking about myself, a fiscal conservative, it seems to me a SALT fix rewards state governments that spend too much money recklessly. I mean, if your tax rates are so high because you spend so much, why should everybody else in America? Why should everybody else in America bail out New York, Illinois, and California?
I was just going to ask: are you suggesting that New York, with its proposed $260 billion budget, spends recklessly?
It's always spent recklessly. Illinois has, California has. So
of course,
why should the rest of America carry that bill with some SALT fix?
With all due respect, you're not. I mean, the fact is, it's a form of double taxation, which, as a fiscal conservative, I don't think anybody really would want to support. You are being taxed on your state and local taxes, and now the federal government wants to tax you on top of that. But New York is a donor state. New York sends more money down to Washington than it gets back. States like South Carolina, for instance, I've heard my Republican colleague from the Senate, Lindsey Graham, make the same point you're making. South Carolina gets more money back from the federal government than it sends in tax revenue. So are we subsidizing South Carolina? I mean,
yes,
that argument falls flat to me, frankly, because the fact is you can look at any state and any issue that each state has, and you can say that they're being subsidized by the federal government. This is an issue of fairness. It's an issue of double taxation.
Isn't that the case that most blue states end up subsidizing red states, which supposedly hate government? But isn't it usually the case that red states on average take more from the federal government than blue states?
I think that's very true in a lot of cases. If you look at the amount of money that goes to states across the country, a lot of the top states in terms of recipients of federal dollars are red states.
So, yeah, all those big mouth red state senators and Congress people, when they start taking care of their people like blue states do in the aggregate, when they start paying into the federal government like blue states do, instead of just taking and sucking on the of blue states by taking more out, then they can talk about how good their policies are. But if we looked at policies, if we looked at state for state, who's sicker, who is less educated, who takes more on the dole, all of that turns out that red states are sicker, red states are not that educated, red states take more from the dole, red states have more pollution, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Whose policies are better again? We have to stop living in the false reality that too many Republicans put you in, and start letting it be known whose policies really worked. After all, remember, the economy always does better under Democratic presidents versus Republican president. And that has been true for decades and decades and decades. But if you hear them talk, you would think that they know something that others don't. Even again, as the economy prospers under Democrats, the economy generally has to be repaired after Republicans have done destroying it, just like Trump is doing his modus operandi. He destroyed it with his actions towards COVID in his first administration, and he's destroying it at the beginning of his administration right now. Folks, it's time that we learn. He destroyed the economy once before, both with his ridiculous tax cuts and huge deficits and his handling of COVID. And now he's doing it with tariffs and quite a bit more. Wake up, America. All right. Interestingly, Cassandra Norman says, Cassie from the dirty South. We also have Mike says, the Confederacy of today is a parasite. Mike says also, the problem is Dems' messaging is crap. I can't argue with that. Mike also says they couldn't message a win if a Republican wrote it for them. I agree with that. That's why you have politics done right, man. We are here to put it out there. Cassandra Norman says, I am an independent that votes Democrat. I hear you, Cassandra. I hear you. Anyway, folks, we have another 3 or 4 minutes that I can take calls. Give me a call, 281-823-7747, 281-823-7747. As soon as I get off of this, I have to go to the gym because I missed yesterday and get moving with what we need to get done. Anyway, give me a quick call. Mike says, love you, Egberto. Mike, I love you too. Look, folks, give me a call. Vámonos, llámame. 281-823-7747. One more time, 281-823-7747. I'm going to wait for a minute before I close out the show doing my ask. You too, Paul Fleming. I hope that you too means you love me too, because I love you too. Anyway, let's see what else we got here. All right, folks, let me do my ask right now. As you guys know, this is more than just a radio show. In the mornings, we're on air, KPFT 90.1 FM, Houston, and around the country. We're also on air in the morning. We do all of that. You know, we're on the internet. We're on just about every platform. That's what we do to get the progressive message out. We also write newsletters. We write articles in newspapers. We write several books. And we are using most of our income for this is subsidized by both our Patreon and our newsletter. We're trying to move most of it to the newsletter because it is something we give you every day. Those people who become paid subscribers of our newsletter get all our books. I have 5 books out right now, and I'm writing about 4 more that I hope to finish in the next year and a half or so. And then I'll write other books on other issues. Okay, let's see. Cassandra Norman. How you doing, Cassandra?
I'm doing very well. Thank you so much for accepting my call.
Well, it's your show, Cassandra. Hello?
I'm doing well.
Good. So what's up?
Well, this is the first time I've been in this room with you.
Uh-huh.
And I am excited about learning. You have so much knowledge. The depth of your political knowledge is just amazing to me.
Well, I appreciate that, and I thank you so kindly for those kind words. The one thing I ask of you is to let other people know about our show, let other people know about of what we do out here, because that is how we learn together. And by the way, one of the reasons I make sure is that I learn from everybody. By the time I'm done speaking to you today, I would have learned something as well. And I mean that from the depths of the heart.
Yeah.
So where are you located?
In Arkansas.
Arkansas. Little Rock, Arkansas.
Yeah,
I love
urban.
it. I love Little Rock. In fact, the one thing that I got there too late, I tried to go to Clinton's, former President Clinton's library, but I couldn't make it. But I love that river that runs through and the whole work. Yeah.
Sure. It's amazing.
Yes. Well, look, Thank you, Cassandra. I appreciate you calling. Before you go, though, I want to tell Mike, yes, we are on iHeart. We are on anywhere that you can get a podcast. You can find our program. You can also find us on Spotify. You can find us in all these different domains. That is for Mike. Anyway, so what else? Anything else you want to say, Cassandra, before I close the show out?
Yeah, I would love to say that I am accepting the call for politics. I received a call from my higher power that said to me, I need a spiritual politician.
Well, you know what? Whenever you find that spiritual politician that you want us to talk about, this is your program as well. All right?
Yep. And that politician will be me.
All right. Well, good.
We'll talk again.
Well, we'll talk. Thank you very much. All right. You have a wonderful day, Cassandra.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, folks. That was Cassandra listening to us for the first time. All right, folks. Here we go. You can support our program with pennies going to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. Consider becoming a subscriber. It subsidizes all the work that we do. Writing books, articles, letters, everything. I'm going to put the books on the screen right now as we speak. But yeah, if you can support the program however you can, we will be able to continue growing this thing, growing it and informing and making sure that people vote their interest. Right now, the right wing has a lot of the power in misinforming their people. You see some of the folks in our chats that are completely ill-informed. We love them still, but they're completely ill-informed. Our job is to come out with truth, the evidence, the fact, and also giving these people a place to land. All right, got to get out of here. Support us at politicsdoneright.com/newsletter, politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. If you are on the Substack application, you can become a paid subscriber by just going to either from the app or going to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. My name, love you all first. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. You guys know how I end this baby, right? I am what? We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number 1, subscribe to our channel. And number 2, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.